see what this 5.0 is getting? Coyote single turbo kit. Let's get it. What up, YouTube? I'm coming back at y'all with another video. You see this Mustang over here behind me. We got this built 5.0 right here next to me. You see that turbo kit on there. Well, y'all stay tuned. We're gonna go ahead and drop that motor in that engine bay over there. Coyote single turbo build starts now. Let's get this manly piston rod built engine prepped, ready to go in the Mustang. Got the engine on the engine stand. Let's go ahead and get this thing lowered down. Get to building. Engine builder already put the timing cover and rear main seal on for us, so we'll go ahead and get the valve covers put on now. Let's go ahead and flip the motor over and get the oil pan put on. Got all the bearing material cleaned out of the pan. Got the new gasket in the pan. Gonna go ahead, get a little silicone where the covers meet, clean up this little area right here. As you can see, got all the oil block off. Nice piston and rod setup. I think it's a manly setup. Got that ARP 2000. Man, what you call some Coyote jewelry right here. Only thing it is, this block is not sleeves. Stock block, stock sleeves, but it's got some shit to hold some power, that's for sure. So we removed the oil pan back off. It looked like before I marked it up, it was touching here, so I just went ahead and put some paint marker to make sure it wasn't rubbing. It looks clear to me. The oil pump seal in there, we got a little lube on it. That way we don't pinch the ring. Got silicone on the 4 mounting points. Let's get that oil pan on. Yes, I cleaned the white paint marker off. All right, we got all the bolts hand tightened down. Everything snugged up. Oil pan's on. Boosted boys. Spark plug gapper. I'm gonna go ahead and gap these spark plugs down and get them in the heads. Got all the plugs in. Let's go ahead and get the coil packs put on. All the coils on. Let's go ahead and get the high pressure fuel pump on. Always make sure your lifter's in place so it lines up with the cam and with the high pressure fuel pump. Let's go ahead and get it thrown on. High pressure fuel pump is on. Let's go ahead and get the bracket that protects it from the frame, and then we'll get the fuel injectors put in the cylinder heads. Before I throw the injectors in, I went ahead and torqued the knock sensors down to spec. Got the harness running back behind the engine here. So now we'll put the injectors in. Got all the tape out of the holes. Got all the seals on the injectors, so let's slap those things in. I got the injectors pushed into the cylinder heads. We're gonna go ahead and get the bolts in and torque them down. I was just getting all the hard lines in place, so I'm not fighting them once everything's torqued down. And then of course we got some sealant on the threads, that way don't have no leaks on that direct injection. But let's go ahead and get the bolts in place. We'll put some Loctite on those bolts and torque those down. All right, now that we got the injectors in place and all the hard lines on, I'm gonna go ahead and put the plate back on just so we cover up the intake holes. We don't have no foreign objects falling down on the motor, but yeah. Now we got all the fuel lines and everything in place. Move on to the front accessories. So we'll take this crank bolt out, get the harmonic balancer on, and then we'll put water pump, everything else on the front end. Let's take a few steps back. For one, we're gonna remove the oil pan. I just got the instructions from On3. Since he got it through a dealer, we had to get the instructions through them. So I gotta tap the front of the oil pan to drain, and then I gotta remove the factory oil cooler. Get all the manifold bolts pulled out. Already broke them loose. We'll just get these snatched out, get the turbo manifolds put on. The turbo manifold's installed on the engine. Getting all the bolts tightened up so we can mock up the turbo and make the drain line. Turbo manifolds bolted up. Getting the turbo clocked. Gonna move the housing so the feed line is straight up and down, but you guys can see how it's looking. Got the feed and the drain straight up and down. I don't have this fitting tight yet because still got to pull everything back off and get it in the car and then start mounting everything up. But for so far, manifolds are on. We're gonna go ahead, mock up the drain line so we could tap the oil pan, and then we'll pull turbo back off, put it back in the box, and get the rest of the engine assembled. All the front timing components, harmonic balancer, everything like that. We got the line on, and then we got the X on the oil pan where we're gonna tap it. The crossover pulled off. Let's go ahead and get the harmonic balancer on. The harmonic balancer on. Let's get the rest of these front accessories. Our pump is on. Belt tensioner on. Looking along, getting all the accessories completed. Get this factory cooler pulled out of my way. Got the oil cooler block off plate and the oil pressure sensor installed. So this is what will feed our remote oil filter housing. The oil pressure sensor plugged up. I'm just gonna go ahead and get this over the sensor to protect it. And then I got the oil control valve zip tied out the way. That way we don't gotta worry about a check engine light since this doesn't have a provision for it. And then pulled the harness off the car and just got everything connected, all the cam sensors and coil packs and stuff like that. Just to see, make sure all the wiring's ran before we do get it in the car. I still got to put this side together here, but you can see what it looks like with this Boss 302 manifold, 1320 Junkies, boost proof manifold right here. Boy, still got the plate under there, but just mocking everything up, seeing how it all fits. Looks like this thing is ported out pretty nice. Yeah. Got the oil pan all tapped out. All right, we got the oil pan on. Let's get this drain fitting made. The turbo drain line in place. All right, let's go ahead and get this thing pushed around to the bay. It's been sitting. You can see it's been dirty. Dirty, dirty, dirty. Got the Mustang pushed in. Getting the AC pulled out so we can get the AC compressor off, and we got to replace all these lines anyways for the On3 kit. So we get the AC compressor off, get the 90-degree fitting in there, and then mount it to the engine, and then we'll rip out all these lines. I believe this line and this line is all replaced. Complete recovery of the system. So let's go ahead, take these lines off here, get that compressor pulled off and on the engine. These are the new AC lines that they provide in the On3 turbo kit. Studs out the compressor. Got the O-ring swapped over with the factory gasket. This has to be bolted down first, and then we'll get the other line in next. All right, let's get this plastic cover removed. Get all these clips out of here. Gonna get these brackets removed. Looks like 410s. Brackets out on both sides, so we'll go ahead and pull all these 8mm out of the bumper. Looks like that's like a little 6mm or whatever, but we'll pull all these 8s out. That way we can get this front bumper lip off. The lift point set. I'm gonna go ahead and get the fender wells pulled apart from the front bumper and get the bolts out. Got all the ones across the top out and got the skin pulled off the core support. So we'll get the corners out and then pull the rest of the bumper off. All right. Getting the bolts out of here. Go ahead and pull this bumper off. All right, bumper's off. All right, we got the radiator out. We got most of the AC lines out, all the way from the expansion valve to the condenser. Pulled the tranny line connectors out. So now we're gonna go ahead. We got a couple of spacers and stuff on the On3 kit to install for the sway bar, and we got all the new AC lines to run before we actually put the engine in. So these are the spacers here. We gotta take 1, 2, 3, 4 out, and we'll go ahead and put those in between. We got the crash bar pulled out the way. We got the shroud pulled out the way. Let's get the AC lines in. So we got the AC block on to the expansion valve. Got one line running there, and then the other one runs along the chassis here, goes to where the condenser is going to be. So those two lines are in place. I don't have it fully tightened down there because I still have to connect the other side here that will run to the compressor. So we'll go ahead and just keep working on these lines and getting them all together. The AC compressor on with a 90-degree fitting. And go ahead and remove the toe strap. The AC belt on. How to walk it on since it's a stretch to fit. But got it on. Let's go ahead and get the drive belt on now. The drive belt on. Got the cherry picker over here. Let's go ahead and get the motor off the engine stand so we can get the flex plate and the rest of the stuff put on the rear of the engine and get it ready to install in the car. Got the flex plate on. Gonna go ahead and just, since we're not using a lot of this wiring here, we're gonna go ahead and just zip tie some of this stuff out the way. We only really need the map sensor, but all these flaps and all that, since he's got that Boss 302 manifold, I'm just gonna zip tie all this up so it looks nice and clean behind the manifold, out of the way. Got the spacers in. I had to get some longer bolts because the factory ones only caught like 2 threads on the subframe. So I went and picked up some longer bolts for the sway bar spacer. We got the transmission supported up fully. We got all the wiring and everything out of the way. Just waiting on the 2 engine mounts to come in. These other ones in the box over here were starting to break apart. You can see they were starting to crack down the middle, and then over here on this side too. Oh shit, looks like parts just showed up. So we'll go ahead and get this engine thrown in. Got the new engine mounts in, well, getting them in. Gonna go ahead and slip the cover over the top of them real quick. Get this put in, get the other one put on the subframe, and then put the engine in the car. Let's get it. Passenger side one came with a new cover, but that one over there didn't. We're just gonna swap it out so they match. Let's get the bolts tightened down. All right, bolts are locked down. I'm actually gonna disconnect the steering. I got the steering wheel locked up in there with the seat belt. That way I have all the extra clearance just in case I need some, but you see the motor mounts are nice and tight, torqued down with blue Loctite. So let's take this steering shaft out and get the motor laid in this beast. Getting it dropped in. We're out there cleaning. I'm cleaning the daily. Let's get it. And just like that, we got both sides in and connected in between the transmission, both studs in place. I did have to lower the subframe just a bit. So what I'm gonna do before I take the cherry picker off, I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten up these subframe bolts here so everything is nice and flush. I go ahead and lower the engine down. Oh shit, we got the ice cream man here. Let's grab something from him real quick. What up, what up? Back to regular programming. Going ahead and lower the cherry picker. So we'll take this hook off. And the heart is in the beast, yo. Drop this down. And we'll pull this cherry picker out of our way. Just like that. Got the Coyote set up in here. All right, I got everything moved out of the way. Let's lower the hood. Let's bring this beast up. Get this transmission and converter lined up before we move any further. Got the converter lined up with the flex plates. Let's go ahead and get the converter nuts on. And then we'll start tackling stuff under here. All the converter bolts locked in. That plug in. Go ahead. Get all the transmission and the bell housing bolts in. We'll get the starter in place. A lot of room for activities up here now that the exhaust goes the opposite way. Got all the bell housing bolts in, got the starter in, wired up. Got the alternator wired up and tightened down over there. Got to make the oil cooler line, so I'm going to wait to put the steering and all that on until I start getting those and mocked up. Do the rest of the bell housing bolts from up top and just keep plugging away. Got the AC compressor all plugged in. Got the ground on the engine mount over here. Got the back bell housing bolts all tightened up, so we'll go ahead and get this plate removed. and then we'll slap the intake manifold on. We don't have the fuel rails yet or the fuel system, but just gonna keep piecing away, doing everything we can. Got the intake manifold on. We're gonna go ahead and get the turbo lined up. Just got this chair here for extra support to hold the weight while I get the 2 clamps on. And then what we got to address is this wiring here. It's pretty close, so we're gonna separate it and move some of it out the way. That way it's not too close to the exhaust and it doesn't melt anything. With the turbo mounted in the engine bay. This thing's gonna look sick. Just keep rocking and rolling. Some FIC, I think these are 1650s. Nice injectors right here. We'll go ahead and get these installed in the manifold. Some things look like jewelry. Both wastegates on, they're a little loose, just so I can clock everything right now. So I'm gonna go ahead, install the down pipe and the other pipe that goes in between, and then I'll do both of the wastegate dumps. We're gonna actually plumb the wastegates with some hard plastic lines instead of using the push lock stuff, the chrome fittings that they come with. We got some nice ones. So we'll plumb all that up for the Turbo Smart boost controller once we get a little further. But right now we're gonna do the downpipe and some of the exhaust, and then we're gonna start tackling the radiator, condenser, all that, so we can get the front end back together and get the intercooler mounted. Got the boost controller wired up, got the oil cooler lines all ran and attached. So we'll zip tie everything up out the way once we get the car complete. Still waiting on the fuel system to come in, but you can see we got this one tapped out, so it'll go somewhere in the boost line here. Keep it away from the wastegate and everything like that. See how the lines run down through the chassis. The pump controller and everything. Let's get this. Got the filter, pressure regulator. I was checking to see what fuel was in the tank. Looks like it's like E70 right now. Definitely lost its potency sitting for a while. This episode 2 underway. Get this installed. Just got the car back on the lift. Went ahead and popped the fuel pump out. You can see the tank is full all the way to the max, but we're gonna go up and get this factory fuel line removed and then start checking to see where we can run our fuel lines. We got a -10 feed, and then we have a -6 return coming off the regulator that's got to make its way back to this tank from the engine bay. So let's get it cracking. Got the first line made up, running it down under the car now. This one actually goes to the filter. So this is the feed line here. We got the leveler all hooked up, wired up, got the 3rd pump installed. Let's go ahead now, get this dropped into the tank. Got my little put together mobile station, getting the fuel lines ran. I got the main feed here, got the pump mounted here. So I already got that line marked out, getting the fitting made up. We'll go ahead and connect it here, and then we'll start from this end with the rest of this hose. Run up into the engine bay to our block on the passenger side, and then start going from there on the rails, and then we got the return. Getting it locked in. One line coming off the filter down there, comes up around the bell housing underneath all the wiring and everything, comes up to our little block that actually attaches to the high pressure fuel pump here. So now I'm gonna start, since I got the feed line from the pump through the filter up to the high pressure pump, now I have to build all the crossovers and the other lines coming off to go back to the fuel pressure regulator. So right now I'm getting the return started. I'm actually gonna fish it down from the inside of the car and then screw it all the way down on the top of the pump hat. And then I'll run the return all the way up here to where I'm gonna mount the regulator. Got the return ran with the feed here. I already ran it up to the top to where it needs to go. So we're gonna go ahead and get the straight fitting put on it so we can attach it to the bottom of our fuel pressure regulator. Got the crossover made to the other side, all tightened down. Got the off the back of the rail up to the regulator, and then got the return going down all the way to the tank. So now I just need to figure out the best way to connect these two together. These lines is the main feed. This one goes to the rail. Got the Motion Raceworks catch can installed. Got one going to that side. Got the other one running over with the crossover fuel line. Getting some holes drilled into this battery cover plate. Actually gonna mount the breaker right here so it's accessible and it's hidden. Got the breaker mounted. Got the little rubber grommet in there. So we'll have the red power wire run through that grommet. And then these two will go to the battery. All right, so we got the power side all attached. Got this one coming through the fitting. Down, goes to the trunk. One end over to the other. And got the reset switch right here. About the rest of the wire I was left with. One end to the next. All right, got the controller all wired up and installed. Wires is going underneath, you can see, attached to the tank there. Got Liliana right here. She just wants me to throw her toy. She can go run and get it, but you can see, got all the wiring tied up out the way. Fuel level wires hooked up. Got the main signal wire. So when we prime the key, getting a bracket made up here. I'm gonna slice this off, drill a little hole here, put some nice hardware in to match, but looks like that's where the coolant reservoir is gonna sit. So I flushed the fuel system out, went back and tightened up all the fittings. We got fuel pressure, got a Turbo Smart E-Boost 2 gauge. Already got some of the wires ran through the fender well down there. So I'm gonna run them up where we're gonna mount the gauge up in the pillar, and then I'll make my way back, get everything loomed up and nice. So let's go ahead, get that knocked out. Got the downpipe on. Making some progress. Got all the vacuum lines attached. Have to remake that 1HC line that goes down here, so I'm gonna go get that done tomorrow. That way we can just shoot it straight up and over with the rest of these lines. But getting everything tied into place, got the radiator mounted, got the fans mounted, gotta wire those up next. Got some of the coolant hoses mounted, all the catch can lines running under the intake. Everything all zip tied. Got the O2 sensor in the pipe. I mean, everything's pretty close, but everything's got distance. Go ahead and get some oil pressure through. Can hear the oil. See it dripping. Making sure we don't have any oil leaks or anything, because we did put the on-3 block and swap the oil filter over here and relocate it, but I don't see any drops of oil underneath the car. All right, let's make sure we're getting oil to the turbo. Yep, got oil. So we know the turbo's getting oil. All right, got everything but coolant. This upper hose is leaking, so I'm waiting for that hose to come in. The seal is shot right where it meets that junction, so it had a slow drip. But we're getting ready to set the fuel pressure. We got the vacuum line off, plugged up. You can see a nice little overview. Let's go ahead and try to crank this thing up. Got the tune already loaded from Rob Shoemaker. First start, here we go. Here's a little final look underneath. Got the fuel system all completed under here. Got all the wiring, AC lines, everything out of the way. AC system is charged. Got the puppies with me today, as you can see. But yeah, we're just looking over everything. I had it running for a bit, got it full of coolant. Just looking for leaks. I don't see nothing down here. Surprising, everything looks good. Nothing rubbing on the belt or no oil leak right here on the front, on the return for the turbo. All the clamps and everything are nice and tight, blow off valve tight. Got all these zip tied out the way. So oil filter's full of oil. Yes, sir. This is how we do it. A little final view. We're gonna go ahead and take it on a test drive now and get it fired up, and then to the dyno from there. All right, let's take it on a test drive. Run it. Let's go see. Got the hood off because it won't close with the intake. You can see how high it sits up. You can see from here it sits up pretty high, but go take it on a test drive and just see how it does. Make sure it shifts through the gears. It is a 10-speed 2018 model. So first maiden voyage. Shifting through all the gears. Got a dude on the bike right here. Gold chains. All right, y'all, so that'll wrap it up for this video. This was a little project. It got a little delayed just due to the fuel system. Customer ordered it like 6 months prior and took a while to come in. By the time it got here, I was finishing up on a couple of other projects after I had pushed this one out. Literally assembled the motor outside the car, you know, put the turbo kit on it, threw it in. As you guys can see, it's ready to go over to the dyno. I unfortunately won't be able to be at the dyno because I have to be here working on other cars. You can see the finished product. Still need to get a beauty ring put on, but other than that, the engine bay is pretty good. Gonna get the hood and all that cut, but engine bay solid. Everything has clearance, even though it's a little bit. Wrapping the downpipe wouldn't be bad, but everything has clearance. Everything is bracketed. Good hardware. Got the vacuum block in the back. Got the Boss manifold. Just the way we do it. Triple pump fuel system. Went ahead and mounted it there. Everything all together. The blow-off valves down there. Oil filters here, so easy access from underneath. Can drain the oil right in front of the tire right there. Feeds the turbo. So nice little setup from On3. Nice billet parts or CNC parts. Got a Mushroom Raceworks catch can. Nice setup, easy to install. See the fuel system off the high pressure pump there. Taking the Mustang on a test drive. Got great oil pressure. Shifting through every gear. See the turbo right there. Just gonna take it on the expressway. It's got a tune from Rob Shoemaker on it. It put down 615 on 3 pounds of boost, but one of the timing tensioners failed. So brought it back to the shop. The engine builder covered it since the parts were provided by him. He was nice enough to cover it even though it's an aftermarket build. And we got a new tensioner on there. Got the car put back together. Timing set and everything, and it's good to go. These windows up real quick. it becomes a headache just because, you know, you're rushed to get the job done. Let's say I'm in the middle of doing a cam job on a Camaro. Now I got to stop what I'm doing to pull the timing apart on this one. So, you know, the work that's not accounted for, it comes with performance stuff. Put stuff together, you got to take it right back apart. It made good power, you know, like car drives great. It's got great oil pressure, you know, everything you could ask for. Just parts failure. It's nothing on anybody else. It's just the luck of the draw. But the difference between us and other shops is we get it taken care of. We understand the deadline of the vehicle. We want to get it back to the customer. So jumped on it, stayed late a couple nights, got it done.